Okay, so it's working. I'm just going to cut right to the chase because I was supposed to start 10 minutes ago, but my computer decided, oh, let's disconnect you from the internet for no reason. It's annoying, but without any further ado, if I can get the audio fine. Okay. If the audio sounds bad, let me know. But yeah, welcome officially to Firecracker Week with our first practice session for the 2026 Firecracker 400. So on screen you can see the what we're gonna do for what the practice session is gonna be. 30 minutes long. It was supposed to be 40, but as it want 10 minutes of me just yapping. I could have done 35, but I already sent these a while ago, so I can't really change them. Of course, Daytona, 2.5 mile long super speedway. Bank 31 degrees in each turn, in both of the corners. And as for the weather today in Central Florida, it's a very hot and humid 90 degrees Fahrenheit with 9 mile per hour in from the southeast. And of course, this is just part one of the many festivities we're going to have here in the Firecracker Week. Of course, today's practice. Tomorrow night, we're going to have practice after the Sonoma Cup race. Monday will be the duels at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They'll also be live streamed. Wednesday will be the Fast 6, July 1st. That'll be the first pre-recorded Firecracker Week event. And of course, the main Firecracker 400 on the 4th of July, the next Saturday at 7:45 Eastern Standard Time. Now 44 laps long. Not like we missed much. Okay. Basically back to where we were. Hopefully it sounds alright. So you see more cars spawning on pit road here. Eric Monaco, Brendan Beal, Nathan Stapleton, Bradley Ream, Dylan Matthews, Viper Gaming, Matthew Burnett, Natalie Gillespie, I should say, Frey, and everyone else all spawning in. Also, if I've mispronounced your name, I apologize. I probably should pull up the pronunciation, see on my iPad here. I can find Google document or Google Sheets if that's the case. But somehow, in case if I still butcher your name, I apologize. Alright, I got the responses here. Alright. So we got a mix. So obviously it's a bit different this year with the Firecracker. We're not doing it since it's not part of any series. We're using a mixture of custom and pre-made schemes from across the Gen 6 era of cars. The oldest schemes on here are 2018. We also got some fantasy schemes and everything in between as well, so it's pretty cool. So Jason Albert's the first car to put up a time. Obviously it's just warming up, so obviously the first laps in these sessions are not going to be too fast because everyone's sort of trying to warm up their cars. For some of these drivers, it's the first time they've maybe even raced here in over a year, because not nearly a year since the Atlanta finale, because it's been decent. That was all the way back in October. Now it's almost July, so it's definitely been a while since we've last raced here. Okay, so the first real lap times being put up. Nathan Kidd, one of them, the 46, and Mopar, another one. Mopar currently has the fastest lap, 46.857. Watch out for the 20 car there, jeez. So it's definitely going to be pretty. So like we saw with last year's practice, it's definitely a little bit scary to see some of these drivers kind of merge back onto the track. Like some of these drivers really like to get really dicey with how they merge back onto this track. So that's definitely something to look for. That's definitely something to, keep an eye on as well. Anyways, looks like Walker, another one of the Dodges, now the fastest on the board. We only have 4 Dodges in the Firecracker field, partly because there's not very many paint schemes available for the Dodge cars. In this mod, so running on board with one of them with Walker right now. Well, as soon as I said Walker had the fastest lap, Jackson Burgum now has the fastest lap in the Hertz 24. Brendan Beal also right behind him as well, and also right behind him on track as well. As we're probably going to start to see some form here soon. We got some of the Kyle Busch tribute cars here. Jason Albert and Caleb Rose. A number of Kyle Busch tribute cars here, of course, to honor the late great driver who untimely passing that I think all of us are still very much shocked by, even a month after. And also, I will say there is going to be a side lap number 8 during the Firecracker as well. I have the graphic for that plan and everything as well. To pay respect to, again, a legend who died way too early. So yeah, it looks like just about everyone has put up everyone's on track. The 95 JNF. Yeah, there we go. Again, it's gonna take a lot to get used to these names, so I do apologize. Just was the latest car out on track. They currently have the 33rd fastest time, but it's still very early into the session. Only 5 minutes is now. Frey's going to look to the inside of Walker into turn number 3 here. Any major packs so far? Alright, looks like we got one. We looked at this one earlier. Looks like these drivers might pick up Matthews and both Matthew Burnett. Happy birthday, by the way, if you're watching, and Dylan Matthews there. 08 of Mr. Pepto Man in the Kyle Busch patriotic tribute scheme. Currently, so far, has the slowest lap, but again, it's still, of course, 24 minutes remaining, so still time to put a good lap in. As Albert's already coming down pit road. Albert was, of course, one of the first drivers to put in a time for today. So I'm going to see. So I guess I'm going to do some adjustments here, make sure they're doing good. And also, you may notice, too, we got special tires. You can't really see it, but we do have special honor and remember tires for this weekend's festivities. I've always wanted to use these tire textures. It's a good time to. And I thought this Firecracker would be a good excuse to finally use them. Got a smaller pack here. That's Joe T in the 78. 41 of Alexander Rowe, the 66, and the 66 car there as well. Bradley Ream in the 9 this year. Ream's been a Dodge loyalist, really, besides the first year in the Golf Summer Series and the Firecracker in 2020. Bradley's been a Dodge loyalist, and again, as I said, only 4 Dodges in this field. You're looking to have them right now. You're looking to have the Dodges right now on your screen. So these Dodges, especially, This is a really good time. I think this and tomorrow night's practice sessions are going to be really good. Are going to be really good for not just really good. See where your car is both in and out of the draft. But for these Dodges, I think it's a really good opportunity for these Dodges to sort of get to work with each other better during the race. Because as I said, there's not very many Dodges, so you got to versus the other 3 manufacturers. So you definitely got to pick wisely on who. So you definitely got to This is definitely a good way to get used to each other's help during the race instead of, relying on the big race. So Albert back on track. The 20 car there. Brian Rodriguez side by side of Roberto Crown Jr. These were 2 of the championship contenders during last year's Palm Summer League. Of course, Crown won our last super speeder race on the channel, that being at the Progressive Speedway. In an absolutely thrilling fashion, going 5 wide. In the closing laps of that race, and somehow making it work and not causing everyone to wreck. Now, speaking of a driver who can get it done at super speedways, that is Nick Sant in the 47, the 2023 Firecracker 400 winner. Probably one of the heavy favorites to win this week. Now, anyways, I have to fix something there, but here's a driver making his first start on the channel since the 2022 Golf Summer Series. Alex Cass-Stevens in the 12, the Kobe Bryant tribute car there. Getting around Owen Miles, who has been in nearly every Firecracker apart from 2024 on the channel. They're from one of the channel OGs. And another channel, and speaking of which, there is one of the big heavy hitters here when it comes to veterans in the Firecracker, Anthony Hernandez. He's been a part of every single race on the channel, no matter what series, what type of track. He's been a part of every single race we've had here, and he's accomplished a ton. A championship in the Golf Summer Series, every crown jewel except this race, almost every crown jewel except this race. In fact, he and his father Johnny, again, have won like I said, have accomplished so much. They have won every crown jewel there is to win except the Firecracker 400. This has been the race that's been eluding them for over half a decade. With Hernandez down to 48 instead of a traditional 88 car or 3 car. So he's definitely hoping that a number change, and definitely hoping this number change could possibly be the key to success here in the summer's biggest race. Anyways, Brendan Beal, the 2023 Palm Summer League champion, still has the fastest lap, which is kind of surprising because there's a pretty small pack between Beal, Burgum, and Stapleton here. But they are making it work. Now, the second fastest driver when it comes to times is the defending Firecracker winner, Matthew Hill in the 90. For the native looking to become the first driver in channel history to win back-to-back Firecrackers. In fact, it's kind of odd as well, considering that we've had, of course, 6 Firecrackers, 6 different winners, but only a handful of them have even had a chance to defend their wins. Nick Stant and Jordan Forbes being the last 2. Of course, Forbes not in this year's Firecracker, so he won't have a chance to defend his. So he's not gonna have a chance to repeat as a Firecracker winner. As the only 2 drivers that are former Firecracker winners that are in here is Matthew Hill and the aforementioned Nick Stant. You're on board with someone. There's a Greg Biffle tribute card. That's Viper Gaming there. Cass Stevens down pit road. Let's go on board with one of the larger packs. Let's go on board with the Tron car of Riley Spurley. Whoa, these guys had to check up there for Cass Stevens. Watch out. Wow. Cass Stevens nearly got into that pack there. You saw everyone had to slow down there to take evasive action. Imagine not very happy with the 12 car right now. You probably should exit. That's where you probably should exit, not in the middle of turn number 2. Very scary. And we're definitely hoping for not a repeat of last year's Firecracker Week where over a quarter of the field, I ended up having to go into backups for the start of the summer's biggest race. Of course, we had drivers wreck during the first practice session last year. We had multiple drivers wreck during the duels. So that resulted in 10 drivers last year going to backups. So I imagine these teams and drivers are hoping that doesn't happen this year. Yeah, that was Spurley went on board with. He's currently has the 24 fastest lap. Brendan Beal is still at the fastest lap alongside Matthew Hill. And the 41 of Alexander Rowe, who's currently 3 out of Monaco, and the 62 of Neo over there. Oh, no, that's not me. Carroll, I should say. Sorry. Again, I'm still trying to get used to these names. Now, the 2 lead drivers of this pack, that's Jose Angel Gutierrez in the 52, and the 43 of Karsh. And the Bobby Wabani inspired number 43, and again, one of the very few Dodges in this field. So they're currently the only Dodges, the 43, the 9, the 46, and the 56 are the only Dodges all in this field. So we got 2 of the Bass Pro cars. So yeah, you got 2 Bass Pro cars here, although they're pretty easy to tell apart. Mash Burnett, who trying to join Matthew Hill as Floridians who have won the summer's biggest race, or Joe T is also trying to win for the first time as well. In fact, Joe T's lone win on the channel did come from a holiday super speedway race that came at the M&M's Classic back in the HWRL in 2022. So Joe T definitely has some experience winning at the Super Series. And Burnett is also, he did win Talladega also that same year in 2022 in the former Golf Summer Series. So 6-6 coming back on the track. Roberto Crown Jr. once again. Looks like these three, potentially four, I should say, potentially 5 drivers looking to join this pack. That's remained steady so far. We're halfway done with this practice session thus far. Nothing too much has changed with your top top 3. Let's look at some of the drivers so far struggling to find speed. According to the 16 of Viper Gaming, now Viper's all by himself as of right now, 45.40, 4 roughly. Only time below 45.3. But partly that's because Viper's been all by himself so far in this session. Another driver that slow is the 19 of Matthew Burnett, who's also been relatively by himself just until now. Joe T side drafted him here. Frey, also another slower driver in the field in the 22. They're currently in 34th. The 32. What are the 32? 32 of Matthew Hubert, the defending, or the reigning Palm Summer League champion. I haven't said too much about him so far because I've barely even seen Hubert on the track, but Hubert's currently 33rd, has the 33rd fastest time, is currently in pit road trying to get adjustments here. And Hubert did well during last year's Firecracker, got a top 5 in that race. And as for the former champions, and speaking of champions, as for the former champions that are representing, as for the former channel champions we do have in this race, I mentioned Matthew Hubert, the reigning Palm Summer League champion. The 2020 is, oh, Hubert, watch out. Don't get hit. Okay, good. Good. Okay. I mentioned the 2023 champion, Brendan Beal, is right there for the Palm Summer League, from the 2023 Palm Summer League champion, I should say. Ryan Wilson, the 2022 Golf Summer Series champion, as well as Winter Street Stocks champion in the 51. Anthony Hernandez in the 48. I already mentioned are our champions represented here in the summer's biggest race. "13 minutes remaining in this practice session. Of course, the Sonoma O'Reilly race is about to start soon here. I immediately turned off practice and qualifying before I need to start this, so I need to check who won the poll and everything. Let's go on board for another driver for a lap or so. Let's go on board for Alex Mullen, who's 3 wide right now. Ooh. Very tight block for Alex Mullen on his fellow Chevy Eric Monaco. You may notice too some of these Chevy Camaro noses. They are much. This is the newer NASCAR Cup Series 2021 mod. The Camaro noses are a lot flatter than previous Gen 6 Camaro molds. So there's a better visual. Let me get a better visual. It's the Mustang here. So yeah, you can see the flatter Camaro noses, the larger top grille with the larger bow tie. A lot more accurate to what they actually ran. And it should be better when it comes to drafting and pushing as well, as these noses, again, aren't really as pointy as the original Camaros. Back to your top 4. I didn't realize I was on that screen for a little longer there. If this is a little sloppy stream, I apologize. It's been a while since I've done NR for sure. We got 3x3 here going into turn number 1 with Ronald Kennington in 36 ahead of this. This definitely could potentially be a preview of how a dual field could look like with just very few cars. I'm surprised these drivers are committed to running 3 wide like this. Anyways, Brendan Beal still has the fastest time in the 4 car. Owen Mile is up to second now, second fastest. Brendan Beal, where are you, Beal? I have to probably... He's down pit road. Okay, Beal is down pit road. Well, several of the drivers in that large pack we just saw will now have faster times. Owen Miles, only 1/1000th of a second difference between Owen Miles and Brendan Beal's fastest times. Nick Sant also in this group. He's currently third. Matthew Hill, fourth fastest. While Alexander Rowe rounds off the rest of the top 5. So now they've settled down 2 by 2 now. And I'll tell you, probably shouldn't mention this earlier. These Cup cars are a lot faster than any of the previous cars we have used in the Firecracker 400. We saw a similar change in the Massachusetts Classic over at Papyrus when we transitioned to the Cup physics. Speeds were a lot faster there, and speeds are certainly a lot faster here. 200 miles per hour there from Owen Miles, entering into turn number 1. So these cars are a lot faster than any of the cars we've previously used in the Firecracker. Of course, all of the previous Firecracker cars we've used were in the GNS physics, but this is going to be the first time we've used Cup physics. And the speed difference is definitely going to be apparent not only here, but also in the Fast 6 as well. Or, of course, all of the cars are going to just be by themselves. All the drivers in the Fast 6 are going to have single car runs. All right, so Beal back on track, right behind Matthew Hubert, of course, to the former Palm Summer League champions there. Nathan Kidd coming back onto the track. There's got another smaller pack here by Monaco and Alexander Rowe. Frey leading this pack here. Let's look at some of the drivers. Maybe towards like the middle of the pack. We have 36 drivers, so 15th to 20th. That's gonna be kind of the middle of the road range. JNF is one of them in the 95. Dylan Matthews 16th. Now Wyatt Walker goes up to 17th. Moving Spurley down to 18th in the 2 car. Brad Ream also in that kind of middle of the camp territory, despite being in this pack. Despite being this dominant pack with Miles. And Nick Sant. Sorry. Caleb Rose rounds off the rest of the top 20 to 59. For other drivers there, 66 car. Also, go to 66. Caleb Rose right behind the 66 here. Nia Martinez. Hopefully I'm saying that name right. So Nia Martinez. I have to take a little time to read that pronunciation. Again, I apologize. It's been a while since I've done it, like I said. They're currently 24th. The 52 of Gutierrez is 25th as of right now, as things stand now. So 7 minutes remain in Firecracker practice. Matthew Hill now top of the board. The defending Firecracker winner, 44.66. Dylan Matthews now up to second, 44.699. And moving Beal down to third, Miles down to fourth, and Nick Sant running off the rest of the top 5. So lots of experience in this top 10. You got 2 former Firecracker winners in Matthew Hill and Nick Sant. Brendan Beal, a former Palm Summer League champion, also is up here. Owen Miles, a veteran of the channel, up here as well. Ryan Wilson, another former channel champion. So definitely a lot of experience when it comes to our channel, when it comes to drivers on the channel here in that top 10. But as I say that, it's changed again. Matthew Burnett now is at this top 10 after struggling initially with speed. The 08 of Mr. Pepto Man also up here in 8, fittingly enough in that position as well. Got Matthew Hubert back down pit road. And of course, if somehow, some way, any of these drivers wreck, so far they've done a pretty good job of keeping it clean. They will have to go to a backup and start at the rear of the Firecracker. I mentioned last year 10 drivers had to do that after incidents, and both during during the first practice session and in the duels. So here comes this pack catching up to Brendan Beal. Of course, Beal had the top time for the longest time there, but was fallen to 5th. Still a fast time for sure. In fact, Beal is actually tied. Beal is actually the same time as Ryan Wilson. So that's going to be interesting there. Of course, with this being just a standalone race, the points not going to really be a factor. And the points aren't a factor at all in this, so no championship implication, of course, with this race. Just whoever can win the summer's biggest race, which I'd argue is just as big as winning a championship in itself, especially with how sentimental this Firecracker is, with this being on America's 250th birthday. Let's go on board for driver for maybe a minute or so. Let's go on board. Let's go to that big pack again. Let's go on board for one of the cow cars. There we go. So that's Ryan Wilson, of course, one of the former channel champions in this top 5 in this dominant pack. Currently has the 5th fastest time, little over 4 minutes remaining in this first Firecracker session, as Wilson comes down pit road. I'll, of course, go over the results briefly, and I'll also post the results onto the Discord later tonight as well. So definitely stay tuned for that. If you're in the Discord, I can't send any invite links right now, but it is linked onto my main channel page. If you go to that, the Discord link is there. So definitely join that for the latest updates when it comes to everything regarding Firecracker Week. So take another closer look at your top 10 or so when it comes to manufacturers, because manufacturers are definitely going to matter, as we don't really have teams in this year's Firecracker. Of course, Matthew Hill, the Ford, leading the way. Oh! 19, and that's Matthew Burnett and EMR and in the 66 game together there. Looks like both cars have minimal damage, if anything, but both drivers do have damage. I don't think it's nearly as bad as we saw in years past. Oh, watch out! My goodness, that was really scary. Burnett nearly got clobbered by both Burgum and Hernandez there. That would have been, if those two got into the 19, that would have been very scary for sure. But you see some hood damage to Matthew Burnett, as I don't know if it's bad enough to go to a backup car. I think it looks repairable to me. Look at the 66 as well of Marinese. Where's the 66 at? I have to go back a little bit, but I don't know. Looks like they're down pit road. Just making sure there is. Looks like they're fine, but that was very scary. That was very scary. I think it's especially scary. We're gonna replay that briefly once we're done, but that was very scary, I think, especially for Burgum and Hernandez. They're both going full speed as that happened. Somehow avoided that. That was insane that both of them somehow managed to avoid. Anyways, as the final minute or so of practice of this first practice session concludes, looks like see a lot of drivers there on pit road. Just making sure to do any last minute adjustments. Try to get a lap faster. See if they can get any lap that's faster than Matthew Hill, but hope I don't jinx him here, but unless something happens, doesn't look like that is going to be the case. Oh, it looks like Matthew Hill himself is down pit road. yeah, as I was saying, I was trying to before the Matthew Burnett incident happened. Taking a look at the top 10 when it comes to like manufacturers. So Matthew Hill, of course, being a Ford, Dylan Matthews being a Toyota. The same can also be said for 20, who's now up to third of Gillespie. Beal's also a Ford. Wilson's a Chevy. Wilson's gonna be the highest Chevy out of anyone here today so far. Owen Miles, the Toyota. Chevy for Nick Sand. The 08's also a Chevy of Pepto Man. Alexander Rowe, I should say, being a Ford, and 19 of Burnett, even with that damage in 10th. So far, a good mix. So it's definitely Toyota. So far in this practice, if this practice is anything to go by, the Fords and the Toyotas seem to be the dominant manufacturers. As for the highest Dodge, of course, not that many Dodges, but of the Dodges we have, the 46 of Philip Torres, I should say, a Mopar sponsored car, is the fastest of the Dodges. So that's definitely one storyline to keep in track of. If you're a Toyota and a Ford, so definitely that's one storyline to keep in track of as the Firecracker Week goes on. The Toyotas and Fords seem to be the manufacturers to be the best manufacturers right now of everyone. But for now, Matthew Hill, the defending Firecracker winner, has the fastest time in our first 2026 Firecracker practice session. Dylan Matthews second, the 20th of Natalie Gillespie in third. Brendan Beal fourth, Ryan Wilson rounding off the rest of the top 5. Watch out, Alex Mullen, Jesus Christ. Owen Miles 6th, Nick Sant, the 2023 winner, 7th, Pepto Man 8th in the 08, Alexander Rowe 9th, and the 19 of Matthew Burnett with that damage, which we're going to look at a replay at shortly, rounds off the rest of the top 10. Alex Cass Stevens 11th, Jason Albert 12th. The 16 of Viper Gaming in 12th and 13th, I should say. Nia Marinace also, not Marinace. I keep getting the 62 and I'm confused. Damn it. Tyler Carroll, I should say, is 14th. I don't know. I keep getting the 62 and the 66 confused, but Tyler Carroll has the 14th fastest time. Roberto Crown 15th. Eric Monaco 16th. Philip Torres 17th. I briefly mentioned Bradley Ream is the next closest Dodge in 18th. Jackson Burgum 19th. Anthony Hernandez rounding off the rest of the top 20. JNF gets 21st. 56 of Wyatt Rocker gets 22nd. Spurley 23rd. Alex Mullen 24th. Caleb Rose 25th. The 97, that's not Nathan Stapleton. I've already mentioned the 97. Tim Simmons is the 97 in 26. Martin Ace in 27th, yeah. Gutierrez 28th. Karsh 29th. Stapleton 30th in the 5. Nathan Kidd 31st. Joe T 32nd. Ronald Kennington 33rd. Brian Rodriguez 34th. Reigning PSL champion Matthew Hubert 35th. And Frey in the 22 is currently the slowest of the drivers. Again, if I mispronounce anyone's names, I do apologize. I'm going to try to get better, of course, as Firecracker Week goes on. Before we head off for today, we're going to take a look at an incident between both the 19 and the 66, because that came out of nowhere. It was not nearly as bad as any of the previous Firecracker incidents from last year, but that was definitely surprising out of nowhere. Yes, I didn't realize I had the frame counter on. Okay, here we go. Oh, looks like... Oh my goodness. I think the 66 tried coming down pit road, but Burnett was there at the same time as that. The obvious miscommunication from Burnett spotter to not realize the 66 was going to pit road. That was such a close call. Let's look from above just how close that was. I did not anticipate this wreck to happen, so... Wow. Or not wreck, it was more of a spin than anything. So Marinace was coming down pit road. Yeah, Burnett did not see the 66 at all coming down pit road. It was just... Alright, that's something, an issue there. But you saw just how close these two was. I'm probably going to post a highlight of this a little later, but... One more time there, yeah. 6-6, car coming down pit road. Burnett did not really realize. Sent both of them down to the grass. Both, again, got relatively minor damage. Burnett more so than the 66. I think both are repairable. They should be repairable. But yeah, you can just see how close that was. But yeah, for now, that will do it for me because I gotta get going here soon. But this is the Firecracker Week schedule. Firecracker Week will resume tomorrow night after the Sonoma Cup race for another practice session. It'll also be 30 minutes long, but this will be under the lights this time. It'll be at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, barring any technical delays. Then the day afterwards, on Monday night, will be the duels at 8 o'clock. Wednesday will be the first pre-recorded Firecracker Week festivity. That will be in the Fast 6 on July 1st. And, of course, on the 4th of July is the summer's biggest race, the Firecracker 400, on America's 250th birthday. So definitely all stuff you don't want to miss. But as always, y'all, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll